Hey everyone, Dr. Frunkey here with a truly awesome new knife consult for you on the Whiplash. This is the third design from Nati Amor. You may know him as Black Snow Customs. I've covered him on this channel in a number of capacities, including this Spyderco Subvert, which is based off of the Sabotage model. I had a video on the Sabotage. I had a video on the Opiate, and then this is the third model, the Whiplash. This is a more traditional blade shape, and the goal for this knife was to make a more traditional blade shape. The Sabotage, as you saw, is a bit of an unusual blade. The Opiate was a large cleaver style blade, and so this time he wanted to go with a slightly more traditional blade shape, but in his same design language. And this is the Whiplash. I'd like to say that the names of his knives come from some of his favorite rock music, and I want to say that he chose this based off the Metallica song Whiplash. And that may be true. I think I talked to him about that. It's really, he just has, all of his knives have these names based off of some really cool songs, and I really like that about him. He also likes to make knives that he thinks are very practical. The Sabotage was designed to be a sausage cutting knife. This one is designed as more of an everyday carry style blade. So let's go ahead and get into this knife and learn a little bit more about it, and then we'll dive into some of these amazing details that you see. So some vital signs real quick. If I bring the ruler up and get it all lined up, you're looking at about a 3.75 inch blade, about 8.5 inches of overall length. The handle is coming in at about 4.8, 4.9 inches with an effective grip area somewhere in the 4-inch range. So this is really a very full-size knife. As silly as it may seem, I will bring out another couple of knives here. Here is the Spyderco Paramilitary 2 and the Para 3. Here you can see that the Whiplash is basically the same size as the Spyderco Paramilitary 2. Now, if I bring out the Subvert, for those of you that own already a Black Snow knife, maybe you have a full-size Sabotage and you're curious about picking up the Whiplash, here is a nice size comparison. So you can see it's not quite as huge as the full-size Sabotage. It's quite a nice size overall. Very happy to see that in this knife. So let's get another couple of measurements going on here. I will bring out the scale, and we're going to go ahead and take a look right here. This one weighs in at 5.79 ounces in its current trim. Quite a heavy knife for what you're getting right there, but it is very ornately done, and we will look at those details here. The handle stock right here on the bolsters coming in at 0.6 inches at its widest point, and the blade stock here is coming in at 154 thousandths. 154 thousandths. So you've got yourself quite a substantial blade. It's got a nice thickness to the blade, a nice thickness to the handle, a nice weight in the hand, and it feels like utter quality. Very few other knives in the world match the feeling of quality that is bestowed by a Black Snow Customs knife. Nati, being a jeweler by trade, knows how to make something that looks and feels like quality, and he has knocked this one out of the park. I wanted to go ahead and say thank you to my good buddy Russell. He goes by That's Not a Knife on Instagram. This is his knife. He actually won the chance to buy this at the recent USN Gathering 11, where he purchased this knife. It is the very first Whiplash. There is a prototype out there that belongs to our mutual friend Brett Ulick. This was Whiplash #1 though, so very, very cool to get this one in hand. As with most #1 knives, you may see some evolution of this knife as he continues to make them, but this is the starting point, the genesis right here, so very cool to see this one. Let's go ahead and break this knife down anatomically and take a look at some of these details. In true Nati Amor fashion, there is a perfectly finished Damasteel blade. He likes the Vinland Damasteel pattern. That may be what this one is right here. It is a very, very nice pattern. He gets these things to a perfect mirror polish. Again, I want to joke about the videos that he makes on his Instagram where he has a handful of soap suds and then he runs it under the sink and out pops this beautifully mirror polished blade. And then he etches them and he gets this very high contrast finish with the dark PMC 27 steel and the mirror polished RWL 34. So very, very nicely done. This one has a shape of a harpoon drop point recurve. Very classy, very traditional blade shape on this one. I actually like that very much. One of the things that struck me about this knife when I first opened it, especially if you hold it sort of in this dimension, is almost that I wish the blade was a little bit more straight on with the handle. But if you look at it kind of like this and in the spectrum of the rest of Nati's knives, it has this curvature where it sort of sweeps downward and it allows you to actually angulate that blade for draw cutting quite nicely. That's part of the design of this knife, and if you think it looks peculiar, that's actually sort of the way that it was designed. Very similar, in fact, to the Sabotage. He wanted to sort of have this sort of arching design to it. This is a very black snow design language right there. The knife has a nice choil right here. You can choke up if you so desire. It has a nice area of rest for the thumb right there. Of course, you can reach over the top and put your finger on it right here. Moving back to the pivot, it is always a marvel at how smooth all of these knives are. Without fail, every black snow knife that I have ever handled has some of the best action in the entire world. Incredible detent, unbelievably magnetically smooth drop shut action. It's not that it just free falls. You know, some knives free fall. The Norseman free fall. Some Holtz free fall. This has a calculated, perfect resistance that feels incredible. It has to be felt to be understood. And the lockup is very secure. The lock bar release is very easy, and it's all very, very smooth. And so, again, Nati has come through with another perfectly designed action. Really, really nicely done. I like the smaller flipper tab like this. Reminds me of some other knives that I have in my collection. This rounded flipper tab with the jimping on it seems to be a highly effective and sort of hidden way of doing the flipper, at least less lower profile way of doing the flipper, and it works quite well. I like that very much. Here you can see the hardware is a titanium screw with Timascus pivot collars. Again, it's running on ball bearings on the inside. There's titanium bolsters. Let's go ahead and move back to the handle here. You can see the titanium bolsters. Last time I posted some videos and pictures of these knives, some people said, oh my gosh, look at the gaps in that handle. And I just have to say, you know, this is intentional. I'm not sure if folks realize that about his other knives, but part of his design language is to have this sort of shadow boxed overlay thing going on, these shadow boxed scales. This one isn't shadow boxed all the way around, but these gaps are intentionally done and uniform from top to bottom. I realize that some people don't like that, and that was actually interesting to me that folks started mentioning that. I think it's beautiful. It shows a precision that is perhaps a little bit of a higher level of challenge than just having the two pieces meet up flush like that, so that you actually have to have a perfectly uniform gap here. There can be no rotation of these pieces as you're assembling things, so it all has to be dead centered. I really, really like that. Obviously, you can notice the very brightly colored Nebula Timascus scales right here. This is sort of the basic pattern of Timascus. There are plenty of other patterns, but this one keeps sort of the asymmetrical, sort of crazy pattern that the blade has, and it works quite well together. These two patterns really made up quite well. If you look here, it is a liner lock construction, meaning that there are lots of options for customizing this knife. Here you can see the full-length Timascus backspacer running down this entire length right here. There is a hidden hardware pocket clip that is very nicely integrated, and a hidden lanyard pin right there. So quite nice. So what do I think of this knife? I think that it is incredible. Really, Nati is hitting him out of the park. Every time you handle a knife from him, you just are in amazement at how perfectly finished they are and how great it actually feels. Yes, it's a piece of art, but the actual function and fit and finish are really second to none. There are not many makers in the industry that have this kind of cleanliness and precision every single time. Now, ergonomically, this knife is not perfect for me. It's got a little bit of a sharp point here on the back. And I do think that that will be contoured a little bit more on future Whiplashes. I think that that's something that can be easily remedied, and this is number one, and so it's kind of the testing mule out here. Very, very happy to see that number one in my hand here. I really think that the way that the hand rests is very nice. The thumb rests very naturally on here, and it is made for cutting. Again, he likes to have it so you can just do a draw cut across the surface with the way that it angulates down, and that's very, very nice in the hand. Nati really does consider every aspect of the knife, and he really intends for them to be used. As fancy as this one looks, he actually wants people to be using them to cut sausages and open boxes and things like that. And Russell definitely does carry and use these knives, so it is an honor and a privilege to get to check out this knife and show you guys the new Whiplash. It's definitely a beautiful addition to the Black Snow Customs lineup. I can't wait to see the new variations that he does with this. So thank you to Nati and to Russell again for letting me check this knife out. Go ahead and click like and subscribe to my YouTube channel here. Head over to Instagram where you can follow me as Dr. Frunkey. You can follow Nati Amor at Black Snow Customs and my friend Russell at That's Not a Knife. Also on Instagram. If you guys want to help support my channel to keep these videos flowing, head over to patreon.com/Dr. Frunkey where you can help contribute to keep my channel alive. So thank you all for watching. Leave some comments down below and let us know what you think of the Whiplash, and we will see you in the next video. This is Dr. Frunkey saying, take care.